Hello friends, and not yet friends, welcome back to Mary's Test Kitchen, where I have prepared 5 of your most requested chicken recipes, made vegan of course. But to start this series, I thought you should have my most versatile vegan chicken alternative that you can use in all of them, so long as you are happy to be gluten-full rather than gluten-free. It may look familiar, but this recipe was developed from scratch with a couple of secret ingredients to make this chickeny seitan extra succulent with a meaty texture without being oddly chewy or hoity, if you know what I mean. Make one batch and you'll have enough for several meals, which is great because I admit this takes a little while to make, but it's so worth it. With some techniques I learned from my friend Lacey from avocadoandales.com and her chickweed recipe, I give you my very best Chickeny Chickless seitan to fulfill the function of skinless boneless chicken in your old favorite chicken recipes. Before we begin, please give this video a thumbs up to let me know you're still watching and comment what chicken dish you're most eager to veganize this season. Then let's get started by grabbing the best blender you can get your hands on. I'm going to use my Vitamix, which really makes a difference to the texture of our final product, though you can make do with a regular non-high-speed blender with some considerations. Also, I really recommend measuring by weight to control the liquid to dry ratio, and well, I just love to be precise. As always, the measurements are in the printable recipe linked in the description box. Start with water, 1 3/4 cups of cold or cool water. That's 415 milliliters for anyone using metric. And a cup of cooked white beans. Whether it's from a can or home cooked, make sure you strain them really well so you don't add extra water to the mix. The beans will provide different amino acids in this attempt to make the seitan more of a complete protein source than say if you used just the wheat gluten. Plus, they help to prevent the seitan from becoming rubbery. And before you ask, yes, you can substitute the beans with extra firm tofu. Since it doesn't have any fiber, it actually makes for a smoother seitan. Just cube it and pat it dry before weighing it out and adding it in. Next, add a 1/4 cup of white vinegar. Vinegar cuts through the weedy flavor that you might have previously encountered while making seitan. Vinegar makes it much less noticeable. Next, you could almost call this cheatin', almost, because we're using vegan chicken broth cubes. Made to taste like chicken, but it's all vegetable. I use 3 of these cubes from McCormick because they are in almost every grocery store near me. There are other brands available, so just choose one you like. I also really like the Better Than Bouillon vegetarian no chicken soup base. If you have that kind, use 1 tablespoon of the paste. Next is a special ingredient that you might have to make yourself because it's not super common to find in stores. Dried oyster mushroom powder. Oyster mushrooms have a really lovely, savory, kind of chicken-ish flavor that becomes concentrated and even better when they're dried. To be honest, I thought about leaving this out of the recipe, because it's kind of a hassle, but it really makes such a difference that I never leave it out when I'm making seitan, and I find it's really well worth the time. To make it, choose fresh, nice-looking oyster mushrooms, never wilty or discolored ones because they can have a bitter taste. Clean them off with a damp paper towel. Then load them into your dehydrator. You can also dehydrate them in the oven, and I've written them instructions on marystestkitchen.com, and as per usual, the link is in the description. But if you do have a dehydrator like mine, it holds about 1 pound of fresh oyster mushrooms. Then it takes about 3 hours at 115 degrees Fahrenheit to get ultra crisp dried oyster mushrooms. Then you can use whatever you have to turn them into a powder. I really love using this Cuisinart spice grinder because it's super fast and easy to clean. But you can also do this in a bullet blender or a clean coffee grinder, and probably a blender if you have the flour blending base, but I don't have one, so I don't actually know. I trust you'll figure it out. For this recipe, you'll need 3 tablespoons of the powder, which works out to be 12 grams. The equivalent being just under 1/4 pound of fresh oyster mushrooms, so think about how concentrated that flavor is. Next up, something sweet. Use 1 tablespoon of sugar or your favorite 1-to-1 sweetener. It's not going to be noticeably sweet in the final product, but instead the sweetness helps to balance out the other flavorings, like monosodium glutamate. I'm using 1 teaspoon to boost the flavor of the ingredients as well as add its own unique flavor. Finally, add 1 teaspoon of salt. It doesn't have to be pink, it can just be normal table salt. Then blend until everything is liquefied and completely smooth. About 30 seconds on maximum speed in your high-speed blender. So of course, if you're using a regular speed blender, it's going to take a little longer, but you can do it. Then we add a good amount of refined coconut oil to make this wheat meat juicy and satisfying. Melt it first, and then, with the blender still running but low enough so you're not risking a mess, pour it in slowly. After 30 seconds or so, it should be well incorporated, and you can leave that there while you measure out your vital wheat gluten. Not to be confused with regular wheat flour, vital wheat gluten contains only the protein in wheat called gluten, or as close to that as the manufacturers can make it. Usually I use Bob's Red Mill, but I ran out, and I had to try another brand. Luckily, it worked out. And by the way, if you have a bulk bar near you, they label it as gluten flour, or 100% gluten flour. Whatever brand you choose, you'll need 3 cups or 360 grams. Again, I really have to recommend weighing this out because scoop and cups can really give you inconsistent results. And the hydration of this dough really makes a difference, so yeah, I hope I've convinced you. Anyways, make a well in the flour, pop on a sieve, and pour your blended ingredients in. Use a spatula to help it through. And see the little lumps we kept out? This helps our seitan come out smoother. Then you can stir until the dough forms. I am popping this immediately into my stand mixer and letting the machine do the work for me so I can save my hand budget and avoid aggravating my chronic tendinitis. Once you have a rough dough, just stop and flip the dough to make sure there's no dry bits in there. And here, I'm not playing with my food. I'm just trying to show you the feel of it. It's quite moist and very soft. Put the dough hook onto your mixer and slowly ramp up the speed. I'm aiming for speed 6 for the first round, which is as fast as my machine can handle without it bouncing on the tabletop. If you don't have a stand mixer or you don't think it can handle the heavy, dense dough like this, you can split the dough into smaller portions and then use a good, sturdy food processor to knead it. Whatever you use, just pay attention and don't let it burn out the machine because this is a very heavy dough. When in doubt, use a lower speed and knead for a longer time. Anyways, at first it might not look like much is happening, but just go with it. After about 10 to 12 minutes in the stand mixer, you can see the texture has changed. The dough is more cohesive and you can start to see a lot of little gluten strands, although they are relatively short. All that kneading has tightened the dough as well, so it will be tough on the machine to keep going. Plus, mine is getting pretty warm, so I let it cool for about 15 minutes, and this time also lets the dough relax and get softer again. See how it's even more stretchy than before? You can just about get a successful window pane test on it. Almost. Let's put the bowl back in, ramp it up again, and we're going to repeat this cycle 3 more times. Which I know means this will go on for quite some time. The total knead time is 40 minutes, but every 10 minutes we're stopping for about 15 minutes. But the good news is you can chill while this is all going on. It's all hands off. Just sit nearby, put your feet up, and watch some Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime or something. Now you might be thinking you can do this by hand, and maybe you can. Especially if you share the workload with another person. You could take turns. Teamwork makes the dream work. But as for me and my chronic pain, we are not going to try it. So if you do, please let me know in the comments how long it took you because you probably deserve a round of applause. But the wait is so worth it. All that kneading, the texture becomes super smooth and taffy-like. It stretches so much more. You take a 1-inch piece and it can stretch 4 inches or more. And it's not just about the look of it, but the bite that comes out so much better when you take it to this level. Anyways, divide your dough into 2 parts. Knead each piece very well, forming a log shape. The texture will become tighter and shinier, and it will be slippery and a bit tough to do at first, but I believe in you. Persevere. Stretch the end of the roll up around the log, and it should be able to stay in place. This should do it. But if you want to make sure it stays in place during cooking, wrap it up in some parchment paper. Tightly roll it up. Then to really secure the bundle, wrap it again in aluminum foil. This piece is feeling softer, not as tight, and I'm not as satisfied with it, so I'm going to knead it a bit more. Then cook it using a pressure cooker like an Instant Pot or Kasori for best results. Otherwise, if you steam it the traditional way, it takes about 2 hours or more, and the texture isn't quite the same either. Plus, you'll need to monitor it so your pot never runs out of water, which is a pain, so I much prefer my Kasori for the job. Add 4 cups of hot boiling water to the pot. Add the steamer insert and set the seitan on top. I'm going to leave this other one unwrapped so you can see the difference. Finally, you can close the lid and twist the weight from open to close so the pressure can start to build up. Set the cooker to manual mode, then set the cook time to 1 hour and 30 minutes. Adjust the pressure to high or maximum, then set it and forget it. And maybe while your Chickeny Chickless seitan steams, you can steam too, in some bubbles. You probably deserve it. Whatever you choose, when the hour is up, you can use the quick release or let the pressure naturally release. It's up to you. And when it's safe, open the lid, remove the seitan with some tongs because they will be very hot. So hot that sometimes I find the foil has disintegrated. Which is why I always use the parchment paper barrier if I'm using foil at all these days. But as you can see, the wrap isn't always necessary. As long as you kneaded the seitan enough and rolled it up very tightly, it can hold itself together pretty well. On the other hand, if you didn't knead it well enough or roll it tight enough and didn't wrap it up, it can expand like this. It's kind of ugly, though sometimes delicious food is ugly and that's okay, but more on this later. You might be tempted to break into your seitan right away, but they are still super hot inside. I generally just let them cool down for like an hour at room temperature and then I wrap it up and put it in the fridge until the next day. So the next morning we have about 2 pounds of Chickeny Chickless seitan ready to rip into. Check out that texture. The nice thing about cooling the seitan before shredding is you don't lose any moisture. And of course, you're not burning your fingertips. And you can just shred by hand or you can use a couple of forks. For comparison's sake, here's some shreds from the batch that expanded during cooking. The layers are still there, but you can see some bubbles in the texture, whereas a good batch has smooth layers. However, they both taste good, so if you get that bubbly texture, don't be sad, it will still taste delicious. Anyways, back to the shreds. I think we have enough here, so I'm going to chop the rest of this piece. You can see, even though we've cut the chunks, we still retain this texture. And so it's really good and satisfying in soups and stews. And we still have about 1 pound left. What do you think we should do with it? Let me know in the comments below. Coming up next, I'll get in depth about the dried oyster mushroom powder, plus all my favorite vegan chicken recipes that you requested. Make sure you hit that thumbs up if you liked this video and you'll want to see more like it. Plus, turn on notifications because you don't want to miss anything, and I have 5 more awesome recipes coming your way. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you so much, especially since I've been away so long. If you want to keep up with me between videos, you can follow me on Instagram at Mary's Test Kitchen. I'm always sharing what's going on behind the scenes over there, what I'm testing, working on, and eating. Thanks again, friend. Bye for now.